Well, it's true, we're selling our Sea Dory, the Sea Dog E. It's the one in all the films that people look at and dream about when they're thinking about their adventures. And if you're thinking about buying either this Sea Dory or any Sea Dory, you might want to pay attention, because I'm going to go over this in detail. And a lot of it applies to any of them that you're looking at, things you want to look at and be aware. And I'm going to go over it just like I'm buying it. You'll see on Sea Dories is as pertains with the rub rail line. These are put on with on the inside of the boat. They have a just a simple rivet head that holds the inside of the guard on. And in some of the boats there were cracking issues around the holes. Let's take a look at that and I'll show you exactly what we're talking about. We're just going right around into the cabin. And you're going to want to look, here's two of them together. You're going to want to go all the way down and check and see if there's any cracks behind. There's another one. Head. They're typically at 6-inch centers, and see if there's any cracking around these rivet heads. And on this one there isn't, so that's thankfully never been an issue with this model boat. Coming out of the cabin here, the third issue that you have with Sea Dories, and especially in our model year, was the bulging fuel tanks. Any of these plastic fuel tanks will bulge. They're actually not plastic, but these are twin 25-gallon tanks. And normally in construction you set these bulkheads back. Well, they didn't. And when the tanks did eventually bulge, as they all will, it punched these out 2 inches. Now, that had been an issue for years. I don't know why they didn't correct it, but I went through on my boat and sealed all the way around the tanks so that when they did bulge, I wouldn't have an issue with any kind of leakage or anything like that. These I would caution against filling these up if you purchase a Sea Dory. Just run it off a little tank at first until you get a feel for how good these are on fuel. They're very, very economical. And if you go ahead and throw a bunch of fuel in it, there's a good chance you're just going to wind up with a lot of bad fuel from not using it enough. Now you see all these, I've got a lot of hoses back here for different ways that I want to tank it, and that would depend on what kind of trip I was making. With all the tanks that are on board here, I have over a 300-mile range with the boat. And so if I'm going on a day trip, I would tank it with this straight in, and I have a connection here for whatever way we're going to tank the boat to go on any kind of trip you can think of. A fourth issue that you're going to find with Sea Dories is wiring. Every one of these Sea Dories, when it leaves the factory within a very few days, it's been modified. And the wiring on this one, like I said, I've got any kind of aircraft license you can hold, whether it be for flying or the mechanical part of it. And I did the wiring myself. It's all professional, it's all contained so that you don't have a fire issue. When you look at a Sea Dory, look at the wiring carefully and make sure you don't have a bird nest issue, and if you do, then get somebody who knows how to wire and rewire the boat. All right, as we swing around, these are to the Ray Marine unit, part of the what they call MARPA unit that'll track multiple targets on radar and give you the course and speed and time to collision and all that sort of thing. So, and you got a reading light in here, but you want to keep any kind of compass area. You want to keep any kind of metal away from the immediate area of this compass. If there's any negatives on this particular boat, it would be a cosmetic issue, and that would be, this is not all Sea Dories, but simply when I first bought the boat, I had a 4-cylinder extra engine, just a kicker, and it leaked oil on that cushion, unfortunately. But the cure for that was simply to flip it over, and you know, it's not on the inside of the cushion, it's just on this covering and on the bottom, and that is the only issue I've got as far as cosmetics, a big cosmetic way. Now all the boats are pretty much set up this way. They were, at least until 2003, when one of the guys modified his boat to face the chair forward, and the factory began doing that if requested. Not everybody did it. Certainly there's advantages both ways. We have a Norcold refrigerator freezer, and freezer part is just that. It's not any big compartment, but you can't have your ice and you know, limited amount of freezer items. And we'll turn it on. There you go. That's all there is to that. The Wallace, and all Wallaces are, this one's been freshly overhauled out in Washington, and actually we're finishing up putting it in today. All Wallaces are temperamental, but yeah, I wouldn't want to have it any other way on a small boat, because it exhausts the diesel fumes overboard, and there's no, you know, you don't have an issue with fumes, and the last thing you want to do is wake up not breathing. So the glass in the Sea Dory is tempered glass and bug screens. You want to make sure you have that. Some things that you might not notice, there's your antenna for your VHF. Now I mounted that to when you're sitting, see, it's not in your eye view. Sea Dories, you have a cutout, that's your foot valve for your water tank. That's how that works. Switch, and then you have dual batteries. You have your starting battery here, house battery here. Swing around from the Perco switch. There you've got your shore power, and you want to definitely get a boat with shore power if you can. A thing that is nice to have is the hull is rounded, and you see here we've got these floorboards, and they just pick right up. I would prefer that over what they do on some of them now, which is a permanent flat floor, because you can go either way just by lifting those inserts up, and it's fully, you know, fully stable for any kind of diving, any kind of operation you can think of. And if you don't like that, you can always go back to the original Dory hull floor, which is rounded and lower. Your feet are slightly below the water line. Now I've swung the hatch out and I've locked it simply by turning this little handle, and as you can see, this one locks. On some of the boats they do have an issue where this little arm lever, I guess this becomes worn, and if this one ever does, The cure for that is simply to drill a hole right here, and you insert a cotter pin in or replace this mechanism. Of course you can do that, but unfortunately some of them, for some reason, even when they're brand new, don't hold very well, so they still end up drilling a hole so you can get your hatch full open. Now a 5,000 BTU air conditioner fits right in this hole, and you take and stuff the window on the outside with you know, a towel or whatever, just to tighten things up, and now you've got an air conditioned boat if you're camping out on land, and you plug it in right into your plug right there, and you know, now you've got an air conditioned boat. At first I had a 4-stroke, which is a very heavy engine for the spare, and we sold that and just got a regular Mercury 3.3, and these are great because they're so light you can just pick them up with a couple of fingers. And you know, a spare engine on this has never been an issue anyway, because we've got the ultra dependable American made Mercury, and it is a 2005 90 ELPT saltwater. That means it has anodes inside the engine. It has a little more than the break-in on it. This is the third of these that I've had, Mercury 90s. I had the other two were on a couple of whalers that I had, and the last whaler I swapped engines with the Sea Dory engine, so I'd have a brand new one to go on any other adventures we took it with. And as you can see, it's virtually new. The Dory hull is designed so that as you load the boat, the more weight you have, the more hull you progressively have in the water, and the more stable it is. Now, these are ports. There's your port for your, and this port here is for your Wallace stove, and this port is for your bilge. They're a very stable boat as far as weight goes. That's why in the early America, these dories were used to transport trade goods all up and down the rivers. And because of the shape of the hull as it bulges out, it's hard to bumper, I'll tell you that. And you're going to get a few scrapes and bruises on any of them. But the way I operated, if you watch the movies on the Grand Adventures on the Seabrat site, I had my bumpers all over the boat, and it looks like a barge coming down the way, you know, and that's the kind of the way that I kept the hull in good shape. But now when you get the camper canvas up, this is how they look. It just adds a room on the back. And you see the camper canvas comes right off, goes right up. There's no, it is a very, very handy thing to have when you're camping. Now to start your engine, just pump the bulb till it gets hard, and it should start right away. This Mercury, like any Mercury, is they're really prone to flooding if you over choke them. So we're in neutral, okay, and we've got a fast idle lever if we want to use that. It's right here. We're not, because it'll just fire right up. Now if you choke a Mercury at all, say you're up in the north where it's cold and you need to choke it, all you want to do is push that key in. There's your choke, and do, well, it's running, but you just push that in, crank it a few turns off, and then crank it without the choke, and it'll fire right up just like it did right then. It's very, very efficient. Alright, that was really quick, so I'm going to fire it up again without the choke, just so you see how you normally and it's running. And then you always take a quick look back, see if water's coming out your witness hole. That's out of the water pump, and it is. See that continuous stream coming out back there? And it's and now in the water it's practically silent. They're very quiet. Alright. Off. That's it. Alright, to run the little spare engine, all you do, your fuel lever right here, flip that down. You have two gears. You have neutral and forward. That's all you have. No reverse, just neutral and forward. Make sure that's in neutral. Here's your start. Move that right up to there and just pull the cord and it'll fire off like a banshee. Here's your emergency stop. If you pull this cord, this little red dot, this little plug goes in, makes contact and stops the engine, so you can clip that onto your belt right there, and there's your emergency stop. And that's all there is to that. You got a choke over here if you need it. Normally you don't need it, so there you go. That's all there is with that. Now on the big engine, if you're running in salt water, and this already meets the ultra low emission standards for California, the inland lakes, if you're contemplating doing that, all you do is plug a garden hose in here and run it, and it'll flush out all the internal passageways in the engine. This is how you camp with the boat, or how I camped with it. When I was on the water, I needed 120 inside the house. Of course, you have the hookups inside, and just with a 2000 generator and a block of wood, stabilize it. It fits right back in the wheel, in the well right here. And traveling over the road, take our spare kicker, put it right there, and we have operated the boat with it in that configuration as well, just to get it up out. And usually, in fact, usually we do. And all you do to get power to the boat inside the cabin is you just hook your shore power cord in, and that's it. Now you got 110 inside. Now, as far as the trailer goes, this is a twin axle easy loader trailer. It is way overkill for this boat. Frankly, you know, I would go with a single axle whenever it dies, and it might never die for all I know. It's hung in there for numerous trips across the United States, and you know, it's a Florida trailer, so, but the brackets and everything were extra thick, so it's just never, I was never able to kill it, and I doubt you will be either. But everything on it works. Now, I disconnected the brakes when I initially brought it back because it almost it's got some kind of weird braking mechanism that there's a piston up here and it slams on and off, and it almost put me in the ditch numerous times. So I disconnected the braking system, and it's just a freewheeling trailer at this point. So if you don't like that, well, this isn't the boat for you. And that's about all I can say about that. It's been totally reliable in the whole thing in our years of service, and I'm sure it will be for you too.